Donald Trump has allegedly told former disgraced Fox News host Bill O'Reilly that the reason he doesn't want to release the Epstein client list, which we were also told this week doesn't even exist, is because it would ruin a lot of people's lives. And, that's just not fair. And to be clear, according to O'Reilly, Trump wasn't talking about the victims of Jeffrey Epstein. No. He was talking about Epstein's friends. The people who may have just gone to lunch with the guy, but didn't engage in any of the illegal activities, never went down to the island, never flew on the plane. They were just casual acquaintances. And, we don't want to ruin those people's lives by releasing the client list. Now, if you're thinking to yourself, none of that makes any sense, don't worry, because none of it makes any sense. I will read you O'Reilly's exact quote that he told Chris Cuomo on News Nation this week in just a second. Before that, a quick word from today's video sponsor. For weeks now, all we've heard is how Trump's beautiful bill will slash Medicaid. But almost nobody is talking about what his MAGA loyalists slipped into this bill. Go to ground.news/Farron to see how they're trying to block judges from enforcing court orders unless you pay a bond first. Highly credible sources warn most Americans can't actually afford to do this. So if this bill passes and Trump violates the law, it wouldn't even matter. This is the GOP's flood the zone strategy. Distract us with headlines and bury the real power grab. And it's why I think Ground News is the best tool to expose these blind spots before it's too late. My partners built the only app and website pulling in news from across the globe, then breaking down each source's bias, credibility, and the stories the right tries to bury. And considering most people take the first headline they see as fact, if you're reading the news somewhere else, their browser extension will flag the source's bias and link other credible reports so you can verify the information. Ground News is a better version of how we're already staying informed. So I got my viewers 40% off the same unlimited access Vantage plan I've been using. That's $5 per month when you go to ground.news/Farron, scan my QR code, or click the link in the description. With at least another 4 years of this, they're counting on you to be distracted. This app is how you stay focused. So as I said, Bill O'Reilly, disgraced former Fox News host, was for some reason on Chris Cuomo's News Nation program again this week because he goes on there frequently. And I guess if you're going to talk about anything involving a sex scandal, Bill O'Reilly is the go-to guy, right? I mean, that's why he was ousted from Fox News in spite of being their highest rated host. So if you want to talk about cover-ups of, sexual activities, I guess Bill O'Reilly's an expert. Seems a very dumb thing for News Nation to do, by the way. Very, very questionable. The fact that you even have O'Reilly on the network to begin with, very questionable about your ethics and morals. Even Fox News wouldn't take him. So, something to think about, News Nation. But anyway, O'Reilly told Cuomo this. He said that on St. Patrick's Day, he sat down man to man, eye to eye about the Epstein Files, and he said, and I agree, there are a lot of names associated with Epstein that had nothing to do with Epstein's conduct. They maybe had lunch with him or maybe had some correspondence for one thing or another. If that name comes out, those people are destroyed because there's not going to be any context. Then why would they be in the files? Let me just ask that very obvious question. The files relate to Epstein's criminal activity, not to his daily life of who the fuck he was having lunch with, okay? It's his criminal activity, so if their name is in there, right off the bat, that's going to tell you that there is some suspicion around that individual, okay? I don't think the FBI would have gone through and been like, Epstein had lunch with this guy this day. We don't have his name anywhere else in here, so he's probably clean, but let's put it in there anyway. Not to mention, let's assume the FBI did put the names of people he had lunch with in there. Do you know what this administration can do? They can redact them. It's that simple, Bill. So your whole excuse, Trump's whole excuse, we don't want to ruin people's lives, it's total BS. Because one, those names are likely to not even be in there anyway because they're irrelevant to the entire investigation. And two, if they are in there, they can just be redacted. Like, that is a very simple, quick, easy process. They can be redacted. Okay? So none of your excuses hold any water. And furthermore, let's assume those names are in there. They do get released, unredacted. Oh no, we're going to ruin people's lives. And Trump doesn't want to do that? Since when? Like, he's made his whole career ruining people's lives. I believe Hunter Biden would like a word about that, right? I mean, Donald Trump goes out there daily insulting people, insulting their intelligence, their IQ, calling them horrible names, using racist slurs like in his recent speech in Iowa. This guy ruins lives professionally. Like, that's one of the only solid things he's even capable of doing is ruining people's lives. So don't tell me that suddenly on the issue of Epstein, this guy developed a conscience and now all of a sudden doesn't want to ruin people's lives. He loves ruining people's lives. What he doesn't want to do is ruin his own life. That's why these files have not come out. That's why the list has not come out. That's why names have not been released. It's not about protecting anyone else other than Donald Trump. And if you think anything otherwise, then you're an idiot. Because that is what this is about. Trump doesn't care whose life he ruins. He just doesn't want to ruin his own, and that's what it's about. But back to the point, right? These people that were associating with Epstein were doing so after his initial criminal conviction and jail sentence for these activities. So you know what? You may not have been an actual client. You may not have engaged in any illegal activities, but if you're the kind of person, high-ranking profile, celebrity, whatever, politician, if you're hanging out with a guy that was convicted of these things, you know what? You deserve to have your life ruined. Because you know what he is. You know what he's done. You know what he's doing. And you're still choosing to hang out with him. You know what? The public does need to know about that. Because these are people that we may vote for. These are people whose products we may purchase, and we may not want to be associated with somebody who willingly associated with that, whether or not they partook in the events. So Bill O'Reilly, first of all, News Nation, shame on you for even having this disgusting pig on your network. Second of all, your little claims that you agree with, gee, I wonder why. Total BS. Trump is protecting himself. He doesn't care if he ruins other lives. And even if we do ruin other lives, I would say that these sick freaks, whether they partook or not, kind of deserve it at this point. Thanks for watching today, everybody. And don't forget, if you're not already, please do subscribe to this channel. We have fresh content going up every single day, and I would really hate for you to miss out on that. And speaking of missing out, if you're not following me across all other social media outlets, then get on it. You can follow the links in the description of this video.